In case you're new here, my name is Becky, this is Bria Makes Art. I am a self-trained artist and I like to share art videos online in my free time. Today we're going to practice placing shadows for objects on a surface. I just recently found out that there are rules for where to put your shadows, how long they should be, what the shape should be, etc. based on the shape of the object, and it was a little bit mind-blowing to me because I didn't realize that there were rules that you could just follow to do that. Obviously, it kind of makes sense that there would be rules because it is objects in a physical space, and physics would kind of dictate that there would be rules about how the shadows would be shaped. So I thought it would be kind of interesting for us to just get into the sketchbook and practice that and try a bunch of different shapes to just kind of see if we can get that information kind of ingrained in the old noggin. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is just kind of figure out where our light source is on our page. So I'm just going to put my light source right up here at the top of the page. So we got our light source at the top of the page here, and if we're thinking about this like the sun or like a light bulb, that light is going to be radiating out in all different directions, right? It is going to be coming out all different directions. It's going to be coming forward, backwards, whatever, right? So it's up there. Now we got to figure out like where we're going to put an object. So I'm going to go ahead and put just like a square, a cube, like right over here. Okay, so we've got our nice little cube here. We do need to kind of figure out where that back corner is going to live because that is going to be important for us for figuring out where this shadow is going to live. So then the next thing that we do is we need to figure out what direction the light is going to be coming from when it hits this cube. So what you do is you kind of figure out like where the kind of surface is, and you draw kind of a line straight down from the light. And then you know that the direction of the light on this is going to be going that way. Because we come right straight down and it's going to be going that way. So now I'm going to go ahead and draw some lines coming off the corners of my cube going that direction because that's the direction that the light will be coming from. So I'm just going to draw them pretty straight out. I don't know how long they need to be right now. I'm just kind of drawing long-ish lines from each of these three corners. Now the next thing is to figure out how long that shadow can be and what shape it is. So for that, what we do is we figure out kind of, all right, here's my light source. I am going to just use this ruler to help me draw lines coming from the corner of my cube down to intersect with the lines that I drew before. So now I've got a line coming off from there, and then from this corner, there's that, and then from that corner, there's that. So now we've got an idea of how long those lines should be and where they intersect with these lines, the direction lines of the light. And so now we just kind of connect those points together, and that is the shape of our shadow. That is the shape of our shadow. One thing that I did hear other people say is to make all of these lines coming off the corners parallel, and that's probably more true if you're talking about like the sun, because it is going to be a lot farther away and the angle isn't going to be quite what, like, it's not going to change quite as much as I was showing here. You know, if I came from the corner, or sorry, the center of that light source to each of those spots, that angle changed quite a bit. So let's go ahead and try it that way. This time I'm going to put something over here on this side. Now, because our object is on the right side of our light source, the shadow is going to go over to the right side. So all of our direction lines are going to go that way. And now we've got to figure out the angle of the light coming down. And so I am just going to say that the angle of the light is about that. And I'm just going to use that same angle for all of my lines and kind of keep them all parallel. And just kind of make sure that they can intersect with their lines. There we go. So we can see that the shadow is going to go start here, and then it's going to kind of, we connect those two lines, we connect those two lines, and then this and this are the edges of the shadow. And so now we can really see that pretty well. That looks pretty good. I think this makes sense to me in terms of a shadow shape for an object of that shape. So then next would be something maybe a little bit more complex, right? So how would you do something like a cone or a cylinder? So this one I got a tiny bit of practice with, but I was not very good at it yet. So we're going to practice this together here. And I'm going to try and keep things to either the right or the left of my light source because it's going to make it a little bit easier. But I'm going to make it a little bit closer to the light source here. The first thing that they did is they drew some lines across the cylinder, like so, in order to kind of give us some edges, some corners to use, just like we have on the cube. So I'm going to do that just so that I can kind of figure out where to draw a line from on this cylinder to get our directionality. So I'm going to draw a line from, let's go from here. Go from here out. I'm going to go from there out, and I guess there out. Does that seem right? I think that's right. So kind of from this line out. And I don't know if there was rhyme or reason to where to draw those lines, but let's go ahead and do that. And then we take and draw our directionality. Now, like, this is kind of much more straight up and down here, so our shadow should be a lot shorter. So our line from there is like so. Our line from there is like so. The line from there is like so. So we've got a dot here, and a dot here. And so that's going to be, we're going to use that to draw our curve on the top. Oops, I was using blue there. I should be using blue. This one we're going to want to use that to draw a curve because this has got a curved surface on the top. And that is the shape of our shadow. Right now, I have been just kind of assuming that all of our objects have the light to the right or to the left, not behind it, not kind of, so all of our shapes are kind of going this way. So I'm going to go ahead and just draw a line here to delineate our page. I'm going to do purple just so that it doesn't, we're not using that color anywhere else. And then down here we're going to do other kind of directionalities so that we don't necessarily have it just going off to one side or the other. But before I get down there, I want to do something like a cone. And a cone is going to be very similar to what we saw with our cylinder here. And this one, we're going to just draw our lines going this way. So again, we're just going to go kind of from this farthest most piece here. I'm going to draw a line out there. I'm going to draw a line from kind of that spot there, and then from the kind of furthest back spot there. So there we go. And then, oh, that was supposed to be blue. I'm trying to keep my colors consistent so that you know what each line is. These are my directionality lines. Okay, and then I'll draw my pink lines. So again, like, we're going to just say that this is kind of the angle. So we'll draw from there. We just need to draw the center one here because then it's just going to be from here to there. Oops, let me grab that blue. From here to there, and from there back to there. That's what it's going to be. It's just that shape there. So just get a tiny bit of a shadow there on that side of our cone. Now if you have like parts taken out of your objects or something like that, then you're just going to continue to like pick each of those corners and continue to do the same thing. Okay, I understand what I did wrong here. I'm going to draw the same sort of shape over here. I'm going to kind of twist it a little bit so that our shape might make a little bit more sense. So this is our finished shape here. And now let's go ahead and just put directionality lines. Again, I'm just going to go straight out to the side. So now the next part is trying to figure out like where each of these other parts. So I'm going to bring this line down here, and it's going to be here because I'm basically trying to map where this corner would be down on the ground. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. It's going to be about there. So now I've got this corner, I've got this corner. I don't know that I needed that one. But anyway, so now I'm going to draw from each of my corners here. So this corner is going to come down to this first line here. Then I got to do this corner here, and it is going to come down to that line there. And then I'm going to do this corner, it's going to come to there. I need to have, so this one happens to be on the same line there. So I did this corner, I got to do this corner, and it's going to come down, and we're going to see where it intersects on that same line there, and then this one here to there. So now we've got to kind of join our dots together, and so I'm going to go here, and then there, and there, then there, and then back to there. There we go. And we've kind of got that, the shape of this object here reflected there. That, I believe, is how you would do that. So now let's come down here and let's play again with the same sorts of shapes, but let's change the angle of our directionality lines, because I just kind of was like, oh, I'm going to go to the right, I'm going to go to the left, just straight up. I didn't do any sort of angling. Where, let's go ahead and put our light source here at the top again, and now let's actually kind of pay more attention to what angle that light would actually hit. And let's go ahead and say that like our surface is here. So our light is going to come down, hit here, and it's going to come out at all different sorts of angles, right? So if I've got an object here, and let's go ahead and draw a nice little cube kind of down here. If my object is here, my light is actually kind of coming this direction because the light's hitting there and it's coming this direction. So my shadow, or sorry, my light direction lines are actually going to go this direction. And I want to, again, keep all these lines parallel. So my shadow is going to go that way. And my directionality, I'm just going to say is about that. So again, let's keep these lines pretty parallel, and we are going to intersect our lines, and now we just kind of again play dot to dot. So it intersects there, and so I'm going to go back to that corner, and then I'm going to connect these two lines here, and I'm going to connect those two lines there, and then it's going to go straight back up to the corner. And this huge shape here is my shadow shape. So there we go. And so we get really nice long shadows. And the cool thing is sometimes you have two different light sources, right? So I could say, you know what? There's actually two light sources on here, and let's say that one is stronger than the other. Let's say that we have another light source that's maybe a little bit closer, that is kind of coming at this other direction. And like, I have two light sources in my studio right now. I've got one right up here above me, and then I've got three light sources. I've got a larger overhead light here, and a larger overhead light here, and then one straight above. And so sometimes you get like two different shadows coming off, and right now you can kind of see that here with, like, you can see like a blue shadow here and more of a gray shadow here. That's from two different light sources, because this one is kind of coming that way off and the other one's coming that way off. So if you wanted to be able to do something like that, you can do that here as well. And so, whoops, those should have been blue. Let's go ahead and do our directionality lines like so. This is my light direction. And then let's say that this light source is, I don't know, at that angle. We're just going to pick an angle here, and I'm going to go like so. And now I can actually represent that second, sorry, I gotta see where that joins up. There we go. That second shadow shape like so. And two of those shadow shapes are going to overlap. And there we go. So now we're actually showing shadows coming from two different directions here on one object, which is totally a thing that happens sometimes, right? And you could, like, if you're like, hey, you know what, those light sources, one of them is a cooler light source and one is a warmer light source, you can kind of change the color of your shadows in order to show that. So just kind of something to think about to kind of make it a little bit more complex there. Let's go ahead and just keep practicing. Let's go ahead and do like a cylinder here. And I think that the way that I'm going to do cylinders is a little bit different than the way that I heard somebody else explain it. And I'm just going to, you know, shadow the back of my cylinder like that. I'm not going to draw those lines because I don't think I need them. I think that what I really need to do is kind of figure out like where that widest point is and use that as my idea of where that directionality is going to be. So I'm just going to say that like here, that's kind of where that widest point is. And then here, and then kind of there again. Like those two are really close to each other because I'm going to do here and then like there because of the angle. But if I change the angle a little bit and went like that, then I would have something a little bit more differentiated. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's use these lines here instead. I'm going to darken these up just so that we can have that differentiated a little bit more. And then let's see, then I'm going to kind of draw a line up from here so that I know where to draw from there for my direction of my light. And so here I'm going to have to draw that line up again. So this one intersects there. Let's go ahead and draw these guys out a little bit further. Whee! They're going to come out onto the other page here a little bit. That's okay. And so I said that. I got my angles. I changed my angles apparently. My bad. So that's my farthest one. And so there. So now I'm going to draw my shadow shape. It's going to, you're not going to see like a whole lot there. It's just going to kind of curve like so. And then it's going to come way out here, way out. There's a really long shadow. And just remember to add that little curve at the end because it's going to make it more real because we do have this curve at the top of our object there. Okay, I want to take just a few minutes here and reiterate and summarize what we have been talking about and do it with one or two more shapes here. I've already drawn them out. And basically what we are trying to do when we are figuring out where our shadows are is we are trying to project the shadow shape onto the ground, right? So in order to do that, like I said, we need to figure out kind of what angle that light is coming at. And let's say that it is coming at this angle here. I'm just going to go ahead and draw lines out this way. Sorry, I'm trying to keep that same angle without using a ruler. And one thing that I did before is I didn't draw lines from every corner. And that was because I kind of knew which corners the light was going to, which corners were actually necessary to draw from. So what we're doing here is the reason that we're drawing lines from these bottom corners is actually what we need to do is kind of map where those rays of light are going to stop being able to pass through. So I'm projecting the corners on the top down to the bottom of the piece, so that way it's on the ground. And then I'm taking our rays of light and saying, okay, a ray of light is coming this way. It's going to go, and I'll need to take that down to this line because this line is for that corner. So my ray of light is coming down like that. And at that point, and this way, light will hit the ground. At this point, this way, light is going to be blocked by our object. So therefore, I'm going to see a shadow there. And so now I'm going to do the same kind of line here. And this is seeing kind of where that light is going to be blocked by that corner. Where is the light going to be blocked by that corner? And where is the light going to be blocked by that corner? And you will see that the light hitting this corner is never going to make it outside of this shape. So I didn't actually have to draw this line here because it doesn't make it outside the shape. And even if it did make it outside the shape, it's going through the object. And so it's not going to make a difference in terms of our shadow shape. So even if like this was like this, then our shadow shape would end up going kind of jagged, and that doesn't make sense for the shape of our object. So I didn't need this line, and this line here wasn't necessary. So now, as I did before, I'm just connecting our points and bringing it back. And so like if I were on this side of the object, I would see shadow here on that side of the object. And I'm definitely seeing this shadow here because of the side of the object I'm on. But if I were over there, I would see a little shadow right here. I'm recording this outro before I've actually recorded the rest of the video, so hopefully this was a successful video and it made a lot of sense to you guys and you got a little bit of practice in, and maybe you've learned a new skill as well. If you enjoyed it, if you learned something, if you just are feeling happy, give me a thumbs up, think about subscribing, and I will see you guys again next week. Bye.